Part 147. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1461. She went to Wen's house and found Wen Qiao. Wen Qiao knew that he couldn't escape what was coming, and he would have to face it anyway. Auntie, she called her. Snap, Yamingkaiu slapped her, don't call me aunt. This was the first time she hit Wen Qiao and her son, and it was even harder than the slap. Wen Qiao lowered his eyes and bowed to Yamingkaiu, I'm sorry. I don't know what the scene is like, but you can't excuse the fact that his father died because of you. Wen Qiao said nothing. Nan Li is determined to protect you. I don't have to hold you legally responsible. However, with you like this, you'd better not stay with him anymore. His grandfather doesn't know about it yet. If he knows, you. Wen Qiao just remained silent. If possible, she really didn't want to leave Fu Nanli. Wen Qiao, love shouldn't be the only thing in this world. People like you can't stay with Nan Li, you know? How do you ask him to face you and his family? Yamingkaiu also said a lot of words. Wen Qiao's mind went blank and he didn't listen to much. He only knew that Fu Nanli's mother was now firmly opposed to their being together. Wen Qiao couldn't remember when she left. It was late at night, the north wind was howling, and she stood for a long time. The phone on the table vibrated, and she finally came to her senses. When I opened the text message, my eyes suddenly lit up. She read the text message word by word, her fingers trembling slightly, and her eyes almost burst with fire. She slammed the table, gasping for breath, her teeth rattled, and her knuckles turned white when she clenched them. Finally, she deleted the text message. She leaned back in the chair, her whole body seemed to relax, and she tapped her fingers gently on the table, again and again, thinking about how to go down. Finally, she opened her eyes clear and determined. It seemed that there was only one way she could go. Late at night, Fu Nanli received a text message from Wen Qiao, with only a few words, let's break up. Fu Nanli didn't hold the cigarette firmly in his fingers and burned his fingers. The burning pain made his mind sober. The words break up were more painful than the burn of the cigarette butt. He held his cell phone and hurried out the door. He didn't even have time to call Qin Bei. He took the car keys and drove straight to Wen Qiao's house. Qin Bei, who was in the villa opposite, saw his young master driving and quickly chased him out. This was the first time he had driven a car since the young master had a car accident. He was really afraid that something would happen to the young master. The black Bentley car was racing along the wide roads in the city. Qin Bei and Song An behind were simply on tenterhooks. In the old courtyard, Wen Qiao sat quietly, counting the time. Almost exactly as she expected, there was a knock on the door. Her heart skipped a beat, she had to face what she had to face. Isn't this what the other party wants? Only when she satisfies him can he let down his guard. The bedroom door was pushed open, Fu Nanli was covered in weather and his eyes were turbulent. Wen Qiao, explain to me, what does the text message just now mean? Fu Nanli has said before that Wen Qiao is an actor. Sure enough, her acting skills are very good. She said coldly, that's what it means, let's break up. With a bang, the mobile phone in Fu Nanli's hand fell to the ground, and the family members in the living room were shocked. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1462. Su Yun stepped forward and said cautiously, what's going on? What's the reason for the quarrel? Let's talk about anything. She had never seen Fu Nanli so angry. Did Qiao Qiao do something to anger him? Wen Qiao said softly, Mom, you go out first and close the door. This is a matter between him and me. We can resolve it ourselves. After the door was closed, Fu Nanli grabbed Wen Qiao's wrist and pressed him against the wall. Say it again. Wen Qiao looked directly into his furious eyes, literally, let's break up. Fu Nanli suppressed his anger. Why? Wen Qiao finally gave in, his eyes flickering. I can't be with you anymore. I can take care of everything so you don't have to think about it. Wen Qiao, can you handle everything? How do you handle it? Can you turn back time and prevent all that from happening? Fu Nanli, no, you can't handle everything. If you insist on being with me, how will you face it? To your family? Don't you feel guilty about your dead father? You don't need to think about me, Wen Qiao, you don't need to think about this, I will face it. Wen Qiao, don't be so naive, okay. Fu Nanli touched his face with trembling fingers. The matter has come to this, I can only do this. Wen Qiao, my father has left, you can't leave like this, I won't allow it. Wen Qiao said calmly, let's break up. Fu Nanli gritted his teeth and looked at her. You were the first to break into my life. You were the first to pretend to be my girlfriend. You have no right to leave me without my permission. Wen Qiao looked at him. You will be fine after a while. Fu Nanli, how could you do this to me? Wen Qiao lowered his eyes. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, but this is the only way she can go. Seeing her firm eyes, Fu Nanli finally let go of his hand. If you regret it, come to me. Wen Qiao lowered his eyes and said nothing. Fu Nanli stood for a long time and finally left. He knew Wen Qiao too well. Once she made a decision, no one could persuade her to look back. She pushed further and further. He understood her inner torment. She felt that she had killed his father and had no face to face him again. Perhaps his mother had come to see her. She had always respected his family. Under so much pressure, it was understandable for him that she couldn't bear it for a while and wanted to break up. He gave her time to think about it, and when she figured it out, she would come back to him. Yes, it will. But he waited and waited, but only waited for Wen Qiao and He Ziwei to meet and interact. Qin Bizan stood in front of him tremblingly. His young master had recently been described as haggard, which was really heartbreaking. He didn't want to say it at first, but he was afraid that it would be more hurtful if the young master himself found out. The cigarette held in Fu Nanli's fingers burned a lot, and the ashes were crumbling. What do you mean? I saw Miss Wen and He Ziwei meeting today in a restaurant. Fu Nanli gritted his teeth. Did you read it wrong? I must have read it right. I waited outside the restaurant for a long time. After finishing the meal, Miss Wen got into He Ziwei's car. The cigarette butt was put out in the ashtray, and Fu Nanli said solemnly, I know. Master, maybe. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1463. Go out. Qin Bei didn't dare to say anything and hurriedly left the room. In the darkness, Fu Nanli sat on the leather sofa, his eyes sinister, and a feeling that the situation was out of his control arose spontaneously. At He Ziwei's villa, Teresa made a cup of black tea for Wen Qiao. Her expression was a little indifferent, and He Ziwei's mouth seemed to be smiling. As long as you are willing, I can give you my seat at any time. Wen Qiao glanced at him sharply. Did you set this up? The question was so straightforward that He Ziwei couldn't help but laugh. You are very smart. I like you so much. Only you can take over from me. Indeed, Fu Xianyuan has always been mine since he died, but it's true that you killed him. Wen Qiao's eyes burned brightly. It was you who trapped me in an unkind and unjust situation. If you tell the Fu family this, will they believe it? He Ziwei's eyes were cautious and lingering. so Wen Qiao still believed that Fu Xianyuan was indeed killed by her, so that would be easy. Wen Qiao gritted his teeth, just to let me take your place, you wasted your life. You are really a devil. He Ziwei poured a glass of whiskey. When he committed suicide by driving into the sea, it was my people who saved him. I let him live for more than 20 years. His life belongs to me. Is there any problem with that? Wen Qiao chuckled, even if you save him, you are not qualified to decide his life or death. He Ziwei took a sip of whiskey. Are you teaching me how to do things? The current situation is that you killed your boyfriend's father. Do you think the Fu family will let you go? Wen Qiao lowered his eyes complicated and turbulent. Seeing her tendency to show weakness, He Ziwei smiled, walked up to her, and wanted to reach out to touch her head. Wen Qiao turned slightly and avoided his hand. Look, you all have your own reasons. I was the one behind the plan. But your boyfriend and your boyfriend's family didn't think of this. They all thought you were the one who killed Fu Xianyuan. This kind of baseless what's the use of having a trusted boyfriend, don't you think? He was good at tempting her, as if he was hypnotizing her and brainwashing her. Wen Qiao raised his head and looked at him angrily, not all thanks to you, I have already broken up with Fu Nanli. She looked so pitiful that He Ziwei had no doubts about her. Did you initiate the breakup, or did he? Wen Qiao gritted his teeth, I brought it up myself, how can I face him? He Ziwei looked distressed, didn't he even try to keep you? Boss, he seems to be professional in sowing dissension. Wen Qiao's face was full of disgust, don't stop here, like a cat crying and a mouse pretending to be compassionate. He Ziwei was in a very happy mood, I'll give you time to think about it. If the old man of the Fu family knows that his only son was killed by you, he will definitely deal with you. Speaking of which, you have cured many diseases for him, he has no heart for you and the Fu family. Wen Qiao said nothing. He Ziwei touched her head, but Wen Qiao pushed her away, don't touch me. He Ziwei put away his hand, you think about it carefully, I'll have someone take you back. Wen Qiao returned home in He Ziwei's luxury car. When he was about to open the door, his hand was grabbed. A huge force pulled her into his arms, and her furious voice was suppressed, Wen Qiao. Wen Qiao's heart trembled, and when he saw a pair of sulky eyes, he said bravely, didn't we break up? Why did you come to my house again? The fourth update is completed. Shushu is going to have a wedding banquet tomorrow and asks you for a day off. I can't afford to hurt those who haven't saved the manuscript. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1464. Fu Nanli said angrily, you should know what kind of person He Ziwei is. Wen Qiao lowered his eyes, what's wrong? You are not allowed to have any contact with him. Wen Qiao raised the corner of his mouth, from what standpoint do you order me, huh? Fu Nanli was furious, the identity of my former boyfriend. Wen Qiao, the ex-boyfriend has no such right. Fu Nanli bowed his head and kissed her. Wen Qiao didn't even have time to push him away before he kissed her forcefully. When she woke up, Wen Qiao pushed him away hard. The man's handsome face looked sad and lonely in the dim light. She finally made up her mind and said, he asked me to inherit his five-pointed star. Fu Nanli couldn't believe it, you agreed? Wen Qiao rubbed the wrist that hurt from his grip, yes, I agree. All Fu Nanli's sullen disbelief disappeared, and he became very cold and distant, as if it had nothing to do with him. Why did you agree? Because he said that the Fu family will deal with me, and only the five-pointed star will protect me. Fu Nanli punched the wall next to her. Wen Qiao's eyes trembled twice, but he did not move away. The wall was hard, and if he punched it so hard, the back of his hand must have been seriously injured. But she couldn't express her concern. Will the Fu family deal with you? Do you think the Fu family will deal with you? Wen Qiao raised his eyes and looked at him. You don't know how to do it, but your mother and grandfather may not know how to do it. Fu Nanli closed his eyes. Wen Qiao, you think I won't protect you with all my strength, so you have to find someone else to protect you, right? Wen Qiao leaned against the wall, breathing a little quickly. She could hardly hold on. Finally, she whispered, yes. Yes. After saying this, Fu Nanli was stunned. He smiled in a low voice, okay, very good. My kindness to you in the past few years has actually made you feel that I won't protect you. Very good, very good. He left, his back a little lonely, and even though his shoulders were broad, he was still lonely. Wen Qiao actually wanted to go up and hug him, but she didn't move, as if her feet were nailed to the ground. She couldn't move, so she just watched him go away. He turned a corner and disappeared completely. Wen Qiao slowly squatted down and sat in the corner, with the north wind blowing over her head. Her body was trembling slightly and her hands were cold. Treating Fu Nanli like that exhausted all her energy. She sat outside for a long time. In the night, when Mo came back from outside and saw his sister, squatting next to her and worried, "Sister, what's wrong with you?" Wen Qiao held his hand and added some comfort, it's okay, sister is okay." In the He family mansion, Teresa clearly felt that her husband was in a very good mood. The servant accidentally broke his favorite bottle of wine. He did not blame her, but coldly asked her to work in the yard. "Don't serve me closely in the future. All this is because of Miss Wen." Teresa's mood was a little complicated. Hizawei answered the phone, and the person on the other end whispered, "Fu Nanli went to see Wen Qiao. The two of them seem to be having a bad time. Wen Qiao doesn't feel sorry for her boyfriend. She must have." After Fu Nanli left, she sat at the door for a long time. Hizawei chuckled, "I know. If Wen Qiao didn't feel sorry for Fu Nanli at all, he would be suspicious. After all, it would be too unrealistic for a pair of lovers who love each other so much to pull away at any time." Wen Qiao was in so much pain now, so he felt relieved. The next day, Hizawei went to send warmth again. When Susi saw him, he said directly, "Get out." Hizawei was too lazy to meet him. "I'm here to see your niece, not you." Susi said indifferently, "What qualifications do you have to find her?" "She will be my future heir." Susi raised his eyebrows slightly, "You snatched the pentagram by hook or by crook, why are you so calmly giving it to someone else now?" Hizawei's face was expressionless. "Do I have to report to you every detail of my affairs?" The two argued for a while, and Wen Qiao entered the room, and the room became quiet again. "Now that we've broken up, it's time to move on." Hizawei said this as if it had nothing to do with him. Like a master of chicken soup for the soul. Post one chapter first and continue writing. Thanks for the tips, cuties. Lan ** Lan, Tang Tang, look at the world with a smile. Kinga, annoying, Yu, going home, not knowing the way, at G, the memory of autumn, Suen Mua, Juuxin, closing light, it's closed today, Big the devil's little cutie, El Tien Lo, De Jour, Yi Zi, flirting Miss Degree, J at nice, His Highness's little goblin, the weird little fairy, Lan Jingxuan, Li Chu King Yun, Mu Yu, Xia. Is Bice Hung Ya, Qiange, Lulan Hibiscus, Pudding, /Sun Nordic Mythology, Com, 138-46-47, Demon Hunting Queen, the little ancestor who should be cherished and loved, June /U0026 Blood Evil, Mulan is K Brother Bei, Ling Mu Shuangqing, Star, and King Jia. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1465. Wen Qiao glanced at Hizawei, expressionless, and walked into the room. Hizawei actually stayed at Wen's house and wanted to have lunch. Due to Su Si's instructions, Su Yun did not prepare extra meals for the boss. So, when the Wen family was eating, Hizawei could only sit on the sofa. Su Yun couldn't sit still. Su Si said indifferently, "Don't worry about him." After finishing the meal, Hizawei chuckled softly, "Mr. Su is so childish that he only uses this method to deal with your old enemy without giving him food. If word spreads, it will really damage your reputation as Professor Su." Su Si threw away his chopsticks. "Do you think I care about reputation?" Hizawei was not annoyed. "Wen Qiao, have you thought about it?" Wen Qiao threw away the chopsticks in his hand. "Don't come to my house in the future." Hizawei felt ashamed and left the Wen family with a blue face. Wen Qiao glanced at Hizawei's back from the window, his eyes deep and complicated. He held a Swiss Army knife in his hand, opening and closing it mechanically. Fu Xianyuan died again because of someone. This matter could not be contained, but it eventually reached the ears of Mr. Fu. Mr. Fu was furious and immediately called for Fu Nanli. Even though Mr. Fu was broken up with, he still defended someone very much. "It's not her. Don't listen to other people's words. Are you trying to protect that girl?" Mr. Fu was in the most complicated mood. If it were in the past, he would have made this girl pay the price without saying a word. However, this time is different from the past. Although he never said it, deep down in his heart, he liked this girl very much. The more someone he likes makes such a mistake, the harder it is for him to accept it. One is his chosen candidate for his granddaughter-in-law, and the other is his own biological son. How should he make a choice? That girl loved Nan Li so much. Why did she have such a relationship with Xian Yuan, and under what circumstances did she kill Xian Yuan? This girl had always been calm and rational, and they didn't have any deep hatred. He really couldn't understand it. What frustrated him the most was that this kid Nan Li still wanted to protect that girl unconditionally when something like this happened. This kid has completely lost his mind because of that girl Wen Qiao. "I'm not covering up for her. Do you dare to go to your father's grave and swear that you didn't protect her?" Fu Nanli was silent. Fu Huaiyang closed his eyes and waved his hand, "Get out." Fu Nanli wanted to say something else, but his grandfather said coldly, "Get out." With no other choice, Fu Nanli had no choice but to exit his grandfather's room. Fu Huaiyang has a photo frame in his hand. It is a photo of Fu Xianyuan. At that time, he was only in his 20s, sitting in his study and playing the violin. He took the photo of him personally. Now, everything has become false, and his son has finally become a pile of loess, buried underground forever. He gently touched the photo, his eyes full of nostalgia. He only had one son, and he devoted all his love and efforts to this son. The corners of his eyes were a little moist. Fu Huaiyang wiped his eyes and closed his eyes silently. And Wen Qiao suddenly received two messages. One is that Fu Huaiyang has learned the cause of Fu Nanli's father's death. One is that his entertainment company was attacked, and several of its artists were suddenly exposed to scandals. They are all newly signed artists. And all the evidence points to the Fu family. After all, except the Fu family, who dares to go against her now? Wen Qiao didn't go to find Fu Nanli, let alone Mr. Fu and Fu Nanli's mother. After all, she was in the wrong. When Hizawei came back, he saw that Wen Qiao seemed to be wavering and knew that it was almost done. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1466. No one except the Fu family dares to do this to you. Hizue did not expect that in this life, he would have to tell such a big lie in order to win over a little girl. Forget it, lying has become a habit anyway, so it's not difficult at all. Wen Qiao lowered her eyes, and no one could see the turbulence and self-repression in her eyes. I told you, only the five-pointed star can protect you. As long as you agree, the Fu family can't do anything to you. Wen Qiao clenched his fists, and after a long while, he finally said silently, "You can't control me." She just said these words, and the stone in Hizue's heart was relieved. If she is shaken, there is hope. I will never control you, everything will be done according to your own wishes. Wen Qiao raised his eyes and looked at him, I don't understand why you chose me. What's so special about me? Don't you know there's something special about you? Do you know how high your IQ is? I've always liked smart people, and you not only have an extremely high IQ, but as long as you want to do anything, there's nothing you can't succeed at, and you even have amazing skills. It's amazing. You are an all-rounder, just like me. Only someone like you is worthy of being my heir. As for Lingning, that was the next best thing to her previous personality when she really couldn't find a suitable candidate. If there is a better one, of course, choose the better one. Lingning. All these years of hard work have gone to waste. Finally, Wen Qiao relaxed, then what do I need to do? Hizue's lips curled up, you don't need to do anything. Instead, there will be many people helping you. Nu. Hizue added, I will take you to see it tomorrow. Isn't the five-pointed star overseas? They are available both at home and abroad. The five-pointed star has long been slowly transferred back to China. Wen Qiao nodded, oh. The news that Wen Qiao was willing to inherit Hizue's five-pointed star reached Fu Nanli's ears the next day. He really had meetings in the company, and there were many meetings at the end of the year. Ye Mingqiu discovered that her son had become a workaholic again recently, even more exaggerated than before, almost sleeping in the company. At the end of the meeting, Fu Nanli received a text message. Ye Mingqiu saw that the veins on the back of her son's hands were exposed, his knuckles were turning white when he clenched them, and he felt a little heavy. Fu Nanli stood up holding the phone, and Ye Mingqiu stopped him, what's wrong with you? Fu Nanli stood at the door of the conference room, without looking back, and said indifferently, it's okay. He didn't go to Wen Qiao, but went to Xiaotangshan Club at night and drank alone. Qin Bei said cautiously, I heard that her Nanqiao company has been in turmoil recently. Fu Nanli clenched the wine glass in his hand, so she felt that the Fu family was dealing with her, so she found someone to protect her, right? Qin Bei didn't dare to say anything. I went to check, and the old man didn't do anything. Those writings were not made by the Fu family. Perhaps Hizue directed and acted himself, just to make Miss Wen. Enough. Fu Nanli didn't want to hear this, so Qin Bei immediately silenced him. Qin Bei withdrew, and Fu Nanli was the only one left in the room. It was dark, and he was drinking one cup after another. Qin Bei was worried outside. The young master didn't eat anything. He only drank. Drinking like this would hurt his stomach. He couldn't help but call Wen Qiao, and the voice on the other end was still calm and indifferent. What's up? Our young master has been drinking since he found out that you were willing to inherit Hizue's five-pointed star. Silence, a long silence on the other end. He didn't eat, he only drank. No one dared to persuade him. If he drinks like this, it will hurt his stomach. Wen Qiao clenched his fist and said calmly, you should persuade him. Miss Wen, you know that no one can persuade him except you. Wen Qiao hung up the phone directly, worried that she couldn't help but want to care about him. Qin Bei cursed a few words in a low voice into the phone, then bravely knocked on the door and went in. His young master was already drunk. Master, go home. Fu Nanli turned pale and fell on the sofa. There's nothing I can do against her, Nothing at all. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1467. Qinbei was startled, and he and Songan quickly helped the person into the car and went straight to the hospital. He basically hasn't eaten well these days, and he drank so much wine on an empty stomach today that his stomach ulcer is serious and he needs surgery. Li Fang went into battle personally and performed surgery on Fu Nanli. Qinbei called Wen Qiao, the young master is undergoing surgery for a gastric ulcer because he hasn't eaten well these days and drank too much. Wen Qiao's fingers on the other end were trembling. She always thought that someone like Fu Nanli could hurt him with nothing. Even if she leaves him temporarily, he can live a good life. No one can see the pain in his heart. But she didn't expect that Fu Nanli would expose the pain deep in his heart and let everyone know that he was very depressed because of her departure. Miss Wen, can you come and see him? As long as he can listen to your words, at least let him eat well and live a good life. Wen Qiao clenched his fists. I'm sorry, he and I have broken up, and I have no position to see him. Even if we break up, can't we still be just friends? Wen Qiao whispered, take good care of him. I'm sorry, I'm going to die. After hanging up the phone, Wen Qiao stared at the phone in her hand. The evidence hadn't been obtained yet, so she didn't want to cause trouble. At least, Fu Nanli is such an old man, why should she worry about it? She is now living in the villa prepared by Hizawei for her, saying that it is convenient for her to inherit the affairs of Pentagram. She knew that there were many people here watching her. Hizawei was also afraid that something might happen, so he didn't dare to slack off. Wen Qiao gently rubbed her phone with her fingers, and at midnight, she finally went out. Hizawei received the news quickly and just smiled, we just broke up and it's normal that we can't let go. People always have emotions and desires, and slowly, these emotions will disappear. He believes Wen Qiao can do it. But it can't happen overnight. Wen Qiao drove to Fu Nanli's private hospital by himself. It was not difficult to avoid the crowd and arrive outside his ward. Outside the VIP ward, Songan and Qinbei were guarding the outside. Wen Qiao had no way to lure them away, so he had no choice but to step forward. When Qinbei saw Wen Qiao, it was like seeing a savior. You're still here. How is he? I just finished the operation and the anesthesia hasn't worn off yet. You can go in and see him. He won't know you've been here anyway. Wen Qiao didn't move. Qinbei said humbly, I beg you, okay. For the sake of our young master loving you and pampering you so much, just go in and see him, okay. Wen Qiao was afraid that he would not be able to leave after just one look. She still has some important things to finish, and she can't do whatever she wants. Did the operation go well? It went very smoothly. Wen Qiao licked his dry lips, since it goes well, that's all. I'll leave first. A voice came from the ward, Qinbei. Wen Qiao's heart trembled and he wanted to turn around and leave, but was grabbed by Qinbei. Who's outside? Came the man's low and hoarse voice. Wen Qiao gritted his teeth and said, let me go. Qinbei said urgently, Miss Wen, just meet him and tell him to eat well and live well, okay. Wen Qiao was anxious, I advise you to let me go immediately, otherwise I will be rude to you. But when he heard footsteps coming from the ward, Qinbei was anxious, the young master has just undergone surgery and can't walk yet. The door suddenly opened. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1468. The moment Wen Qiao saw Fu Nanli, his nose suddenly became sore. He was wearing a hospital gown, and his face was very pale, sickly pale. He was probably afraid that she would leave, so he walked in a hurry. The needle that was originally inserted on the back of his hand was pulled out by him. At this time, the needle hole was bleeding out, and the naked eye on the back of his hand was, visibly swollen. Mr. Fu, who was above the clouds, lowered himself into the dust for her. She was so blocked that she tried not to look at him. I have to go. Fu Nanli grabbed her wrist, and Wen Qiao felt his skin, his body temperature, everything she was used to and addicted to, but now suddenly came back. Wen Qiao felt like she had fallen into the deep sea and was unable to extricate herself. Wen Qiao, his voice was weak and trembling. The edge of the knife hurt, and the back of his hand hurt, but it couldn't offset his heartache. Wen Qiao turned his back to him and did not look at him. Have you become He's person? Wen Qiao raised his chin slightly. Yes. You think your company is being dealt with because of the Fu family's handiwork, right? Wen Qiao lowered his eyes and said nothing. She knew that he was not from the Fu family. She knew that it was He's who was secretly stirring up trouble just to let her push the Fu family further and further away. Grandpa knew everything, but he did nothing. Wen Qiao's nose became more and more sore. So, Wen Qiao, why did you choose to escape? Why didn't you stay with me and face it with me? Wen Qiao whispered, I'm sorry, even if they don't care about my mistakes, I can't forgive myself. After saying that, he broke away from Fu Nanli's hand and ran forward in a hurry. As for Fu Nanli, he couldn't resist the pain after all. He was half kneeling on the ground, with blood dripping from the back of his hands. He is so embarrassed only in front of love. Qinbei and Songan were very distressed. Master, please enter the ward quickly. Li Fang rushed over and saw his miserable state, and his heart twitched. Fu Nanli, what are you doing? Are you trying to kill yourself? Fu Nanli was helped back to the ward and lay on the bed again. Qinbei brought ice cubes and helped him apply it on his hands. Li Fang changed his hand to insert the needle again and checked the incision again. Fortunately, it was not cracked, otherwise it would be really bad. The consequences are endless. Fu Nanli closed his eyes. Li Fang inserted the needle into him and sighed, has Wen Qiao been here? Qinbei and Songan didn't dare to speak. Li Fang waved his hand and asked them to go out first. If that girl is really heartless, there is no need for you to take her to heart, she is not worth it. Fu Nanli suddenly opened his eyes. Li Xingxin made a sound in his heart. This dog man had a very sharp look in his eyes. Please, can't he still tell who is his comrade and who is his enemy now? After all this, you still want to protect her? Fu Nanli looked embarrassed. Li Fang asked again, is it worth it? Fu Nanli's voice was low, no matter what she did, she is my Qiao. I said I would protect her for the rest of my life. Men should not break their promises. Even if she kill your father? He didn't dare to say this. This was Fu Nanli's bottom line. Whoever touched him would be in trouble. You can go out now. Fu Nanli obviously didn't want to waste any more words with him. Li Fang shook his head. Nanli, look forward. Don't always indulge in a relationship that doesn't belong to you. If you hurt yourself like this, it will be difficult for people who care about you. If you are always like this, maybe your mother and grandfather on the contrary, you will resent Wen Qiao, and the more you try to protect her, the more you will lose. Fu Nanli frowned. Li Fang knew that his truth made the eldest young master disgusted. Okay, I'm going out. You need to take good care of yourself and don't be willful. Do you understand? The door was closed, and the ward was silent. Only his breathing was left, so lonely. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Amnesiac Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1469. Wen Qiao returned to the residence He's had prepared for her. Thinking of Fu Nanli's appearance, she couldn't help but feel a pang in her heart. She had to make a quick decision. She had to find evidence quickly. The death of Fu Nanli's father had nothing to do with her. It was Teresa who risked her life to tell her the secret. She was grateful to Teresa and started planning all this when she got the secret. In Fu Nanli's situation, she had to speed up the progress. When Fu Xianyuan was looking for her, his body had been injected with a lethal agent. He just wanted to use Fu Xianyuan to alienate her from the Fu family. Before Teresa told her, no one knew about it, so after Fu Xianyuan died, the body was cremated quickly. This makes the evidence even harder to find. The only breakthrough is He Ziwei. The injection of the medicine was done by He Ziwei himself, so at present, Wen Qiao's task is to get He Ziwei to reveal his own conspiracy. This is almost an impossible task. But Wen Qiao could only advance, not retreat. She lay on the bed with her eyes open, thinking about how to pry open this impossible hole. She began to research the condition of schizophrenia, and He Ziwei's only breakthrough was that he had 3 personalities. Wen Qiao's eyes were calm, maybe she wanted to wait. This wait is half a year. Soon it will be summer again, and Haikan has entered thunderstorm weather. Wen Qiao has long been used to it at Pentagram, but what she is not used to is that there is no man named Fu Nanli around her. In the past 6 months, he has not come to see her. I heard that he has been busy with his work. What she didn't know was that he would often watch her secretly. Now, He Ziwei already trusts her very much, because she has done a good job in the past 6 months. Although they do not follow He Ziwei's words, their ideas often coincide with each other. He Ziwei's trust in her and his appreciation for her were beyond words. It was raining heavily that day, and Wen Qiao and He Ziwei took a car back to Wen Qiao's residence together. The bodyguard picked them up and got out of the car holding a big black umbrella. With a click, a thunderbolt fell, and both of them walked in without changing their expressions. Wen Qiao personally made a cup of coffee for He Ziwei and brought it to him. He Ziwei looked at her with a faint smile. "You can actually make me coffee." Wen Qiao raised his eyebrows. "Why, are you afraid that I will drug you?" He Ziwei spread his hands. "I didn't say that." Wen Qiao took a sip himself, then pushed it to his hand. "You don't have to be so defensive. If you don't even give me this little trust, then I can't be your heir." He Ziwei took the coffee cup, put his slender fingers on the golden handle, and finally picked up the coffee cup and took a sip. There was another thunder outside the window. Wen Qiao smiled. "Did you know that there is a child personality in your body?" He Ziwei said calmly, "Of course I know, but the main personality has been abused since childhood, so that weak personality has been living in the body. There is probably no hope of coming out again in this life." "What? Have you seen it?" Wen Qiao rested his arms on the back of the sofa chair with a lazy expression. "I've seen him before. He's a little pitiful. He keeps calling me sister, just to use your current face to ask me to save him." He Ziwei's face looked a little ferocious. "That's enough, no need to say more." Wen Qiao shrugged. "What's wrong?" He Ziwei stood up and walked upstairs. "Shushu comes to ask for a little star. If there is a star, please vote for it. In addition, the update has been slow these days because I am thinking about the ending. It will be finished in the next few days. It takes a lot of brain cells to wrap up this ending. In short, it must be he, so you can rest assured. After this book is finished, Shushu will start revising the manuscript for publication. He may not publish the manuscript for a while. He will only publish a new book in October. There should be activities after the book is published. You can pay more attention to it. Group number 7122000469. Amnesiac. Bigshot remembers only me, the boss lost his memory and only remembers me. Author, Ding Jiashu. Chapter 1470. Going up the spiral wooden staircase, there was a floor-to-ceiling window. A shocking lightning flashed. He stretched out his hand to hold onto the handrail of the staircase, followed by thunder that was about to split the heaven and earth apart. Wen Qiao saw that Hezui's steps became a little slow. She followed, and the lightning illuminated his face very brightly. Wen Qiao saw that his face turned pale, and sweat appeared on his forehead. He looked in pain, as if he was struggling. Then, he staggered and fell on the stairs. "What's in the coffee?" Wen Qiao leaned against the stairs, a trace amount of hallucinogens. Hezui's eyes flashed with darkness. "Wen Qiao, you are doing this to me." Wen Qiao half crouched in front of him. "You also plotted against me, and I plotted against you. We are even, right? Is Fu Nanli so important to you?" Wen Qiao nodded, "Yes." Hezui was panting, as if he was fighting fiercely with something in his body. His hands were tightly grasping the handrail of the stairs, his knuckles were white, veins were exposed, and his eyes were very unwilling. "Wen Qiao, I treat you well." Wen Qiao held his chin. "Isn't it thin? You gave me your blood without telling me, so that I can't control my emotions many times." Hezui chuckled, "But I saved your life, didn't I?" Wen Qiao turned his head and looked at him. "Are you the only one left in the world who can donate blood to me?" "Obviously not. You just want to use this to control me. After that, you injected Fu Nanli's father with a medicine to make him hit the right mood. I am not under control. You killed Fu Nanli's father and framed it for me. Is this treating me badly?" Hezui's face was pale and he was sweating profusely. "This is just a means. Why do you care? Pentagram needs you." Wen Qiao's eyes were gloomy. "You regard human life as nothing more than a means. How can you say that you have pockets?" "Hezui, let me tell you, I don't even bother to inherit your five-pointed star, and I don't even bother with people like you." Hezui's face was twisted and ferocious. "You only want to have sex with men? You are really short-sighted and cannot be carved out of rotten wood. You can say whatever you want about me, just tell me, you killed Fu Xianyuan, right?" His expression was very strange, sometimes gloomy and sometimes frightened. Wen Qiao knew that Hezui, who had taken hallucinogens, and the lightning and thunder outside, were about to reveal his other child personality, and he was resisting. She was just waiting, nervous and apprehensive. Success or failure depended on this. What if it doesn't work? All previous efforts were wasted. Finally, the biggest thunder fell, as if it was going to smash the windows on the side. The man in front of him shivered, and then he grabbed Wen Qiao's hand. "Elder sister." Wen Qiao breathed a sigh of relief. She asked seductively, "You injected the medicine in Fu Xianyuan's body, right? Although each personality cannot come forward, they are fully aware of what the other personality is doing. They are bystanders in the body. Although they cannot intervene, they are very aware of everything." Hezui's eyes were like those of a deer, completely different from his usual gloomy self. "Yes, I injected it," he nodded and admitted. Wen Qiao felt a little complicated for a moment, but she couldn't care less. A child's personality is destined to only exist for a short time. He admitted his mistakes for him, and in the end it was the bad personality who was punished. Wen Qiao gently touched his head. "I understand." After turning off the phone, she whispered, "Don't be afraid, you will not be in danger in the future, no one dares to hurt you, you know." He looked at her. "I know he made a mistake and deserves to be punished. If he goes to jail, can you come and see me often?" Wen Qiao held his hand. "I promise you, I will." "Thank you, sister." Wen Qiao waved. Teresa went upstairs, and she left the villa in the heavy rain. A complicated line of sight behind him has been following him like a shadow. Wen Qiao hurried to Fu Nanli's villa, but there was no one in the villa. "It's almost over, can you smell the happy ending?"